Ja, meine verehrten Damen und Herren, es ist mir jetzt eine große Freude, den anderen Senior Fellow, Professor Dr. Thomas Brewer, vorzustellen. Und er kommt natürlich auch aus dem Bereich, über den ich arbeite, aus den englischsprachigen Gesellschaften, diesmal von der anderen Seite des Atlantiks. Professor Brewer ist seit 1985 Professor of International Business an der McDonough School of Business der Georgetown University, fraglos die wichtigste Universität in der amerikanischen Hauptstadt. Zuvor unterrichtete er an der Business School der University of Michigan. Von der Ausbildung ist Professor Brewer in vorbildlicher Weise interdisziplinär. Ein Bachelor in Volkswirtschaftslehre, ein Master in International Relations von der Yale University, ein PhD in Political Science von SUNY Buffalo, zu der Zeit eine der besten politikwissenschaftlichen Fakultäten in den USA, und dann ein PhD in Business Administration von der University of Michigan. Seine Forschungen haben sich stets auf der Schnittstelle von betriebswirtschaftlicher Analyse und Public Policy bewegt. Bekannt ist er zuerst geworden mit seinen Untersuchungen zu den politischen Risiken und Investitionsentscheidungen multinationaler Unternehmen in Emerging Markets. Weiterhin natürlich ein höchst aktuelles Thema. Es folgten Studienanalysen zu den Möglichkeiten internationaler Investitionsregime und deren Beziehungen zur Handelspolitik. Was fällt an seinen Forschungen auf? Sie ist immer aktuell. Das liegt wahrscheinlich auch daran, dass er in der amerikanischen Hauptstadt ansässig ist und natürlich in die Netzwerke öffentlicher Entscheidungen und Politikberatung eingebunden ist. Sie ist immer disziplinübergreifend und sie erscheint natürlich in erstklassigen Zeitschriften. World Economy, Law and Policy in International Business, Journal of International Business Studies, International Tax Journal, Global Finance Journal, wir könnten das beliebig fortsetzen. Und so eine Publikationstätigkeit wird natürlich auch belohnt. In diesem Falle mit der Herausgeberschaft des Journal of International Business Studies, der führenden interdisziplinären Zeitschrift auf diesem Gebiet, deren Editor-in-Chief Professor Brewer von 1999 bis 2004 war. Hier hat Professor Brewer hohe Standards gesetzt, aber auch die Fairness und Liebenswürdigkeit bewiesen, die übrigens für Midwesterners typisch ist. Und er hat auch immer ein Ohr für den wissenschaftlichen Nachwuchs gehabt. Was wir sehen, ab 2000 ändert sich sein Publikationsverhalten. Seine Aufsätze erscheinen weiterhin in hochrangigen Referee Journals, aber die heißen jetzt Climate Policy, Energy Policy und ähnliches. Professor Brewer hat ein neues Thema gefunden, nämlich die Chancen für ein internationales Klimaschutzregime und seine Auswirkungen auf den Technologietransfer, auf Investitionsflüsse und auf die Handelspolitik. Meine Damen und Herren, aktueller und relevanter kann man eigentlich kaum sein. Und wenn Sie wissen wollen, was die Aussichten für eine amerikanische Klimaschutzgesetzgebung, die ja zurzeit in Washington verhandelt wird, here is your man. Die Beschreibung seines Forschungsgebietes und seines Forschungsprojektes möchte ich ihm selbst überlassen. Ich möchte eigentlich nur noch erwähnen, dass er sich intensiv mit der Klimaschutzproblematik auf beiden Seiten des Atlantiks beschäftigt, also nicht nur mit der amerikanischen Klimaschutzpolitik, sondern auch mit dessen, was in der EU passiert. Das schlägt sich auch nieder in seiner guten Vernetzung in Europa. Er ist das amerikanische Mitglied des Beirates von Climate Strategies, des führenden Forschungsverbundes der Klimaschutzpolitik, das an der Cambridge University beheimatet ist. Wenn man in Cambridge ist, dann muss man natürlich auch Oxford Genüge tun, wo er Senior Research Fellow ist. Gleichzeitig ist er auch Associate Fellow am Center for European Policy Studies in Brüssel, dem führenden Brüsseler Public Policy Think Tank. Das hat auch wieder Rückwirkung auf die USA. Im letzten Monat hat ihn die amerikanische Regierung in das Expertengremium zur umweltpolitischen Bewertung des nordamerikanischen Freihandelsabkommens NAFTA berufen. Sie wissen vielleicht, das ist das erste Freihandelsabkommen, das auch ein umweltpolitisches Nebenabkommen hat. Zum Schluss möchte ich noch erwähnen, eine Besonderheit vielleicht in der Art und Weise, wie Professor Brewer seine Fellowship hier wahrnimmt. Sie wissen ja, amerikanische Wissenschaftler sind häufig wie Zugvögel, die zwar häufig im Ausland sind, aber nur kurz dort verweilen. Nicht so Professor Brewer, er hat hier in Nürnberg sein Zelt aufgeschlagen seit dem Mai. Er ist hier also ansässig, um seine Forschung zu betreiben und übrigens auch ein Doktorandenseminar anzubieten. Er wird das Gleiche tun, wenn er im Wintersemester zurückkehrt. Ich möchte also deshalb auch besonders dem Steuerungskreis und Frau Schöller danken, dass diese transatlantische Brücke geschlagen ist und dass sie auch etwas dauerhaft sind. Jetzt möchte ich Tom Brewer bitten, seine Forschung vorzustellen.
Thank you very much. I'm certainly pleased to be here. I appreciate the Foundation's support and the university's support. And I must say, after listening to Andreas's introduction, quite laudatory introduction, I'm quite tempted to simply say thank you and sit down. But according to the program, I'm expected to say a few words about my research, so I will do that. I apologize for speaking in English, but as you found out from the introduction, I am American, and you know we have problems with foreign languages. I've been using that as an excuse for a long time now. I suppose at some point I'll have to find another excuse, but I did consider offering a few introductory comments in German. I might have been able to do it. I was a little afraid that the sounds and the grammatical mistakes would have led you all to flee, and I would have been left here talking to myself. So I will proceed in English. And in fact, I will proceed without PowerPoint presentations, so you're going to have a bit of a change of pace here. My topics are, as Andreas indicated, at the intersection of two, what until a few years ago were two quite separate, independent topics. One set of topics was climate change, which was obviously of interest to climatologists and to a few economists and a few environmentalists. And on the other hand, there were international trade issues, investment issues, and associated with that technology transfer issues, which were of interest to international economists and international business specialists. About 10 years ago, I saw the possibility that actually these two topics would begin to intersect in the real world, in the policy world, and in the business world, and that eventually the sort of analytic topics that emerged from those intersections would need a lot more attention than they had been getting. So that's what I've been working on, and I'll explain to you a little more specifically in just a minute what the two topics within that broader topic are that I'm working on while I'm here. But just let me say, initially, I'm hoping that what I'm doing is of interest to you in the audience, but in any case, I think it's of interest locally, nationally, and regionally within Europe for several reasons. You all know that this particular part of Germany and other parts as well are certainly world leaders in climate-friendly, the innovation, the development of climate-friendly technologies, clean energy technologies, and I'm going to be talking about that at least a little bit. At the national level, obviously Germany is one of the export powerhouses of the world, particularly in manufactured goods, and including in particular, increasingly, a lot of clean energy goods. Finally, at the European level, Europe has been now, for many years, the Commission and the Parliament and the European Union in general has been a world leader on climate policy issues. When I first got interested in this topic 10 years ago, and I was living in the U.S., in Washington, D.C., in the belly of the beast, as some of us say, referring to the government. I was astonished at how far behind the understanding was of these issues in the U.S. And I spent basically the past 10 years of my professional life sort of going back and forth trying to explain to Americans what, if you'll pardon the expression, Europeans, what Europeans know about these issues and how little Americans know. The issue has finally come to the U.S., you may have noticed, but we're still learning a lot from the European experience. So in case you're wondering these days, Europe is still widely regarded as a world leader on these issues. Now let me talk just a little bit about my research so you'll understand a little bit more specifically what I'm doing. I'm really working on two topics, and the first one actually sort of follows very nicely from the two preceding presentations. It's about international technology transfers, particularly transfers of climate-friendly technology, clean energy technology, and including the barriers to those transfers. And I'll say more about that in just a moment. The second topic that I'm working on, which is very closely related in a lot of ways, is the international competitiveness issues that have emerged in recent years because of certain developments in climate change policies. You all know that, of course, Europe has an emissions trading scheme at the regional level that increases energy prices. It also increases certain other costs for businesses in some industries. And there's concern about the international competitiveness implications of that, because their rivals in other countries, such as mine, the U.S., which do not have serious climate change policies and don't have, at least at the national level, cap and trade systems, their energy prices have not been increased correspondingly. So there's a basic input price difference here, and there may be some international competitiveness implications of that. I will come back to that in a moment. Let me just also say, sometimes you will hear this referred to as the leakage issue. Environmentalists refer to this problem, which I've posed as an international competitiveness problem. They pose it quite appropriately in environmental terms as a leakage issue. That is, it's possible that greenhouse gas reductions in one part of the world, Germany or elsewhere in the European Union, would lead to shifts in production locations internationally so that actually greenhouse gas emissions would increase in other parts of the world. So in a sense, there would be a kind of leakage in this global system of greenhouse gas emissions, a leakage from one part of the world to another part of the world. Excuse me. So that's the second problem that I'm working on. Let me talk just a little bit more about each one of those and specifically what I'm doing, and then I will end on a personal note. We know a lot, actually, about both these topics. We know a lot about the barriers to international technology transfers. There are tariffs. There are all kinds of non-tariff barriers, restrictions on international investments, restrictions on foreign ownership, for example. Barriers, certainly, that firms in this part of Germany encounter almost daily all over the world. And we know that these barriers inhibit international transfers of climate-friendly technology. And that's a pity, to say the least. It's one of the facts that's really inhibiting the world's attempt to address the very serious problem of climate change. So we know this is a problem. What we don't know, however, is how serious the problem is. We don't really know so much about which products it's a problem for, and we don't know so much about which countries it's a problem in. And so what I'm trying to do is really specify in greater detail where this is a problem for what products this is a problem, for what kinds of firms, in what industries this is a problem, and ultimately, I hope, figure out what we, the world, can do about it, or if you like, the international climate change community and the international change community, how we can address this problem more constructively. On the second problem, the international competitiveness problem, there are actually a lot of studies, a huge number of studies done in Europe by Europeans about the European emissions trading scheme. There are an increasing number in the US where this has also emerged as really the central climate change issue these days in the policymaking process. And what we know so far is that this economic problem that I sketched out is not really a serious macroeconomic problem. And there are studies which have been done for Europe, for example, which suggest that to the extent that there's an impact on gross domestic product in the EU, 27 countries, that would be less than 0.2%. That is, there would be a little bit of shift of production out of Europe and into other countries. The ones that are named the most often these days, this won't surprise you at all, China, obviously, India to some extent, perhaps Brazil, South Korea, and maybe even a little bit in the US, as long as the US does not have a cap-and-trade system in place. And so we know that at the macro level, there's not really much of an effect. At the micro level, at the level of particular industries, however, there are real issues. And the industries of special interest are steel, aluminum, some parts of the chemical industry, and a few others. And so what I'm doing, and frankly, quite a few other people are doing these days, is focusing much more specifically on these few industries to try to determine more precisely how much of a problem this is, and then also, secondly, what to do about the problem. I could go on at great length about what the European Union, in particular, has been doing about the problem. I could also go on at great length about what is pending legislation in the US to address this problem. The essence of it is that there are some rather serious and troubling unilateral efforts being developed that would cause quite serious problems in the international trade system. And there are a lot of us who are trying to figure out ways to sort of work around that. So those are the problems, lots of problems. We have a few solutions, but I hope in a couple of months I'll have some more solutions. Also, I would like to just conclude on a personal note, and that is that there's another reason I'm here for the next few months, and probably again in the winter. In the US, we would call this my hidden agenda or my secret agenda. And it is, and I hope you will understand this. I'm both serious about this, but also making a joke. So sort of take it both ways, if you will. And that is that I'm here to be immersed in the music that you all know so well, and some of which I've actually already heard in the 2 weeks that I've already been here. I have a long list of the composers' names, but that would be rather silly of me to read that to you. But the personal note is, beyond that, I happen to have grown up in the Middle West of the United States, which I know some of you know something about, at sort of the edges of a German-American community. And in fact, my mother's family came from Germany. And so I have really my whole life thought I must have sort of deeply embedded in my genes the music of all of these composers that you know so well. And so the other reason I'm here secretly is actually to listen to music. So I'm quite pleased to be here for personal reasons as well as professional reasons. Thank you.